Uh, Atmadeep, would you just like to read these two letters at the end? The psychic world or plane wale? Would you like to read?
Super. Wait a minute. I'm unable to. Yeah, now it's clear on my screen.
Yeah, just these two letters, the psychic world or plane.
Yeah. There is a psychic world, a sort of heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. It is also a place of rest for the soul between two incarnations in which it absorbs its past experiences and becomes ready for another birth.
Next one also.
What you describe, uh, lying calmly, laying calmly in a realm of peace, joy, and oneness, is what we mean by the psychic being in its own plane of existence. For the psychic plane is like that. The psychic stands behind the rest of the being, supporting it with its own purity, truth, and joy.
Right. Thank you. So just to be clear where we are in which book of Sri Aurobindo, this is Letters on Yoga Part 1. In this, the parts of the being and the planes of the consciousness, the concentric system, outer to inner. So the psychic being hai, that is said to be the inmost being, right? So there is the outer being, then there is the inner being, and then there is the inmost being. Okay. So in that, there are two systems in which the being is organized, the human consciousness. One is like a ladder, steps, that is the vertical system. So that goes from inconscient to subconscious to physical, vital, mental. Then after mental, there are the spiritual ranges, which Sri Aurobindo divides as higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, and overmind. In these two again, he makes the division that the overmind and intuitive are quite high, और जो नीचे की दो हैं, they are comparatively gap is more between these two. Till overmind is basically the mind. So when we say mind, basically the word mind means division. Okay. So overmind may be because there are all these gods with their own domains in the overmental plane. Shiva, Krishna, Vishnu, Brahma, all these Ganesha. That is why we find in India like 5 or 6 major sects in Hinduism, right? Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Shakta based on Shakti, Ganapatya Sampradaya, Ganapati related, Kartikeya, Murugaka, and the Saurya Sampradaya. These are the main six that are said to be there. Shankaracharya, it seems he established the puja of 5 main deities, right? So, and in each of the Puranas of these gods, they are said to be the supreme, and the rest are coming out from them, like that. So, that is the nature of the overmental consciousness, like that. Uske baad, properly speaking, the next plane of consciousness is supermind. Above that is Ananda, above that is Chit Shakti, above that is Sat. This is the vertical system. उसका इसमें ट्रीटमेंट है लेटर्स ऑन योगा में, लाइफ डिवाइन में है इन अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल प्रोज फॉर्म, एंड सावित्री में द बुक 2 कॉल्ड द बुक ऑफ द ट्रैवलर ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, उसमें एक कैंटो है द वर्ल्ड स्टेयर, and then all the planes of consciousness are covered. So this is the vertical system. In the horizontal, he says this is like a concentric circle. Okay, so outer, inner, and innermost. Okay, so इसमें जो innermost है, that is what we have kind of tried to cover. That innermost is the psychic being. what he calls the true soul in contrast with the desired soul. Last time I think we had read that, right? So वो जो psychic being वाला part है, that is what we have been reading, मतलब this section for the last 2 months or so. And we came here because we were reading the Gita, and the verses on the self were there, 2.11 to 2.30. So for further clarification, we had come to letters. That's how it was, right? So in this section of the psychic being, after having read all these letters, last and final, this is there, wherein he says that there is a psychic world or plane as distinct from physical, vital, mental, and not वो उस dimension में नहीं है ऐसे vertically. I had shared that on the WhatsApp last time कि exact मुझे उसके words याद नहीं आ रहे अभी, but he clearly says कि it's not like the physical, vital and mental, not in that gradation, vertically नहीं है, it's something separate. वो पीछे की तरफ है और उनको support करता है. Okay, so the psychic world of plane, there is a psychic world. And why? Because psychic being itself, the term is not so clear. Matlab term itself clear in the sense, it does not even exist outside integral yoga. People don't even know this word. This is a coinage of Sri Aurobindo. And about the world of the soul, जैसे पुराने उसके अंदर यमलोका बोलते हैं. So obviously there has to be some connection between the psychic world and जिसको यमलोक बोलते हैं. But exact कैसे क्या है, I would not be able to say. इसमें जैसे आगे आएगा तो एक मैं कनेक्शन बिल्ड करने की कोशिश करूंगा, बट बेसिकली देयर इज अ साइकिक वर्ल्ड, अ सॉर्ट ऑफ heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. So the word heaven doesn't mean simply swarga, which is one of the higher worlds. The word heaven is used in English to refer to any of the higher worlds. So in that sense, higher than the physical world where we are, right? So there is a psychic world, a sort of heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. ये वर्ड ब्यूटी पहले भी साइकिक बीइंग के कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में आया था, सत्यम शिवम सुंदरम, द ट्रू द गुड द ब्यूटिफुल, राइट? सो उसी सेंस में a P of peace and beauty and harmony, very simply for our practical purposes, day to day this thing. Okay, what are the advantages of gaining the psychic being? Basically an unshakable peace, uh, a great sense of beauty, a great sensitivity towards beauty, right? And a harmony with everything. Because the psychic is having that sense of oneness, and obviously, when that oneness is there in our consciousness, there is an automatic harmony, right? But here he's talking about that world, he's describing that world. Now again, इस world का जो proper माने जो एक poetic description है, it is there in the canto of Savitri called The World Soul, Book 2, Canto 14. Okay, internatal trance, exact phrase it comes there. Internatal mane in between two births. Trance mane that kind of self-absorption which the jiva, the soul, is undergoing in that world. So तो पूरा उसमें दिया हुआ है. If I mean nothing else is there, we could be even just reading that Savitri text today also. We can discuss कि वो पढ़ना है नहीं पढ़ना है. That is there. There is a psychic world, a sort of heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. It is also a place of rest for the soul between two incarnations. So that to me obviously indicates, and other passages are there in letters which say it, that there are other beings in the psychic world who act like guardians for souls which are themselves not that mature, and they prepare the souls for the rebirth, but matlab they themselves are not directly connected to terrestrial life that way, and they themselves do not incarnate. They are beings of the psychic world. उसका भी मैं एक और लिंक मैंने खोल के रखा हुआ है. If I'm able to find it, we'll read that. So basically the keyword here जो हम फिक्सेट कर रहे थे, also. So there are other beings there, ठीक है? But for our purposes, what is its main purpose? It's the place of rest for the soul between two incarnations. जो वो क्रिश्चियंस में बोलते हैं ना, रेस्ट इन पीस, उसका बेसिक मतलब ये है. Rest in peace does not mean that your body is lying in the under a tomb and your body is resting. That has no meaning because the body is already, there's nothing left in it, right? What rest in peace really means, अगर उस आजकल even Hindus, anybody dies on all these WhatsApp groups and all, we see rest in peace, rest in peace. ठीक है, bhavna is good, but what it really means is that in between two births, okay? So like I have a birth of 80, 85 years, whatever. a lot of experiences I have undergone, right? So if the experiences are very intense and very numerous, then it will take me a longer time to assimilate them before I will be able to take the next birth. So from that, we can also extrapolate that the greater the maturity of the being, the more time it will be required for the assimilation of those experiences. Very, very simple, right? जो उतने develop नहीं हैं, their births will be much more frequent because there is assimilation के लिए उतने ज़्यादा time की requirement नहीं है.
Makes sense.
Makes
Makes
sense,
total
right?
sense. Yeah,
Makes
yeah,
total
because
sense.
the effort required for refined effort is needed, na, after that.
Exactly, exactly.
Correct.
In one of my tabs, I have opened a section where
हाँ.
letters में सही है, where he's talking about this assimilation in the psychic world. Since
अच्छा.
today there are just 4-5 of us, so for the sake of completeness of what we are reading today, psychic world of plane, we could just read those letters also. ठीक है?
Please, yeah.
We'll see how the consensus goes, right? So it is also a place of rest for the soul between two incarnations, very clearly. वही जैसे हमने गीता का जो श्लोक पहले भी रेफर किया था, जातस्य ही ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवम जन्म मृतस्य च तस्माद परिहार्येर्थे नत्वम शोचितुम अर्हसि. 2.27 और समथिंग एग्जैक्ट नंबर मुझे भी याद नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ, 2.27, right? What does it say? For whoever is born, death is certain. What does death mean? What is the definition of death? The shedding of the Annamaya kosha. That is death. Okay. जातस्य ही, जातस्य माने जो जात हुआ यानी कि जो बॉर्न हुआ है. जातस्य ही ध्रुवो मृत्यु. ध्रुव माने फिक्स्ड. ठीक है. बट नेक्स्ट वन, यहां पे वो नेक्स्ट वाला इंपॉर्टेंट है. ध्रुवम जन्म मृतस्य च. For the mrita, the janma is equally dhruva, it is equally fixed. That is that next incarnation for whose preparation our soul, our psychic being, goes into the psychic world to rest and assimilate its experiences of the previous incarnation. Now again, since I am referring to this shloka, कि जो पैदा हुआ है वो मरेगा और जो मरा है वो दोबारा जन्म लेगा, तो it can obviously create a pessimism कि फिर, and if the level of or the quality of life is not very great in the earthly existence, then feel trapped कि यार ये तो कभी इस माया जाल से बाहर ही नहीं आएंगे, this dukkha and all this. But I mean, that is obviously for those जिनको who are not aware that there is something called Satchidananda within you, and through yoga sadhana one can dwell in it constantly, and then it is no longer dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This is the phrase which Gita uses for the terrestrial existence in the 9th chapter. दुखा दुख का घर है और अशाश्वत है, impermanent है. वो ठीक है. It will remain the case until you have grown until you have had that second birth. द्विजा जिसको गीता बोलती है, right? बोलती है
Anmol, this word also, if I read this line again, it says there is a psychic world, a sort of heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. It is also a place of rest. So to me, it seems that either you achieve it and you become a Jivan Mukta equivalent, because for people who are stabilized in this psychic being, which they are completely identified as the spark within them, then they are always in peace, beauty, and harmony. But it is also a place of rest for the souls between two incarnations. So is that the right interpretation, or I'm not thinking? Because also I thought was that you can either achieve it while you're alive and also know that it is.
हाँ, बोलिए.
You can achieve it, which is the purpose of life. That is the real you. So either you achieve it and you stabilize there, but you should know that it is also the same place where in between souls which have not achieved this status and stabilized there, they would be in between births. This is the also I thought, but I'm not sure. I want to ask
you. आपकी वो बात भी सही है, and we will cover that point. Okay, but here, as I understand what he's saying is, there is a psychic world, a sort of heaven of peace and beauty and harmony. वो एक self existent world है, वो अपने आप में exist करता है, उसके अंदर beings हैं. Okay, even if souls don't go from here to that world will still remain, and the beings of that world will remain in that peace and beauty and harmony.
Right.
The existence of that world does not depend on souls going from here to rest in that world.
Correct.
That world pre-exists. And the nature of that world is that of peace and beauty and harmony, right?
Correct.
And there are beings in that world who are having that state.
Correct. So this means that is the real because see, as you said, the transitory phase that you just now explained is the Annamaya Kosh.
Yes.
See, Annamaya Kosh is an opportunity for us to realize that this is the real us, or this is the
Exactly.
home. This is where we
Opportunity
need to be.
nahi.
This is
That is the
eternal,
purpose
right?
of the Annamaya Kosha.
Correct, correct. So Bennett is saying also here to me, it seems that this either this is the real existence, either at because all the previous
This
paragraphs
is
and
the real
whatever we
existence.
read,
That you are correct. This is the real existence. This statement is perfectly correct.
perfect, perfect.
Also, I should add here key souls who have completed their evolution or who have become sufficiently mature, for them, it is not necessary to go and rest in this psychic world. It is not binding on them. It's not that every soul who is there on earth, after it will leave earth, it will go to the psychic world. That is not compulsory. It depends on the maturity of the soul.
But Anmol, what I thought was that for people who are in that, because see, to see beauty, the three qualities that it's saying, the fact that you've achieved that means that you are in this Annamaya, in this manifest world also, but in peace, observing
Correct.
beauty,
Correct.
and completely in harmony
Correct.
with this
Correct.
stillness as well as the action, right?
That's
So
what
it
I'm
is
saying.
saying that, huh,
But ये मैंने actually पढ़ा हुआ है. I've read this somewhere from Sri Aurobindo. I'll find it out. It'll take some time, but I'll find it out. Very, very simple point he says there, that basically if the need for assimilation is not there, till when, see, there is such a thing as the completeness of the soul's evolution. Again, it has to be taken in a certain sense, because if we understand evolution, evolution is infinite. The divine is basically unfolding before himself, and that self unfoldment, sorry, is infinite. So logically speaking, there cannot be any such thing as an end. Correct. But there is such a thing as the soul's uske journey ka complete hona. What is that? When the psychic being realizes itself and when it unites with the Jivatman, ये word हमने पहले देखा था, when it
correct.
merges and fuses with the consciousness of the Jivatman, when we know ourselves, when we know that we are Satchidananda, we are immortal, we are matlab, indestructible, etc., etc., and we are fixed in that consciousness. It's not that we have a glimpse of immortality and fall back again, or only some connection remains between the immortal and the normal consciousness. No, when you are fixed in it, right? ये मैंने एक sentence letters on yoga में से पहले paste किया था group पे, that the aim is to basically fix the consciousness above the head. In this yoga, in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, the aim is that the consciousness should take its station above the head. This was the word he had used there, station, right? तो एक बार वो हो गया है ना, then there is no need to go and rest in this psychic world, because your evolution is complete. Then I mean, you can, I guess, I don't know exactly, obviously, because I'm not of that level, but you can choose which world you want to be in and from where you want to function. But again, if you want to come back on earth to matlab, either enjoy it or to help other beings or to yourself go forward, then that is also allowed, because you have fundamentally you have become a free being.
Jivan
That is what I
Mukta, no?
wanted to say.
That is Jivan Mukta.
That is जीवन मुक्त. जीवन मुक्त,
Right. So
जीवन मुक्त बोलते हैं कि आप जीवित होते हुए माने you are in a living human body. While being in that, you become free, which means that you have attained the spiritual consciousness. जीवन मुक्त शब्द की परिभाषा ये है.
So, because see, Anmol, the previous section, the highlight we read was the psychic being and
Yes.
the ego. We
Yes.
finished that and we've now come to the psychic world or plane.
Yes.
So, when the ego consciousness dissipates, which is what we were saying, that the
Yes.
psychic being realizes itself to be the psychic
Yes.
entity.
Yes.
And in that case, the psychic entity is also in some plane, right? And that is the
Yeah.
eternal plane. I thought the
Want to say,
central
you can
being.
say that that psychic entity is in the psychic plane, if you want to say it that way. ठीक है?
Correct, correct.
Because again,
Because
आप इसको बहुत ही सिंपल है, कुछ इसमें मुश्किल नहीं है. ये जो बॉडी है, ये मटेरियल प्लेन को बिलोंग करती है. हमारे
correct,
जितने भी डिजायर्स, इमोशंस, फीलिंग्स, एम्बिशंस, पैशंस एक्सेट्रा आते हैं, वो वाइटल प्लेन को बिलोंग करते हैं. वो सारे
correct,
वेव्स वहीं से आ रहे हैं, राइट? जो हमारे थॉट्स हैं, आइडियाज हैं, ऑल द मेंटल थिंग्स, दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द मेंटल वर्ल्ड. सिमिलरली
correct.
जो हमारी सोल है वो साइकिक वर्ल्ड को बिलोंग करती है. बट ऑन दिस टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लेन, ऑल दीज फोर थिंग्स आर देयर टुगेदर इन दिस ह्यूमन एम्बॉडीमेंट. And that is the
Right.
whole beauty of it, the adventure of it, and the excitement of it. कि यहाँ पे ये सारी चीजें संगठित हैं और वो यहाँ क्यों हैं? They are here to transform this earth into a heaven, to bring this peace, beauty, harmony, knowledge, light, ananda, etc. into this world. Ultimately, even supramental Sri Aurobindo says is not the highest. उसके बाद फिर वो आनंद है जिसमें वो डिवाइन लव रूल करेगा. मदर का एक बहुत पावरफुल वॉइस मैसेज है. आई केम टू इंडिया टू मीट श्री अरबिंदो. आई लिव्ड इन इंडिया टू लिव विद श्री अरबिंदो. After he left his body, I continued to live here in order to do his work, which is by serving the truth and enlightening mankind to hasten the rule of the divine's love upon earth.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I'll share it
So-
in her voice.
So Anmol, the central being that we started, because see, we started by saying that there is a psychic being, a psychic entity or soul spark, and a central being.
Yes.
So this central being which keeps on coming up, when we look at the psychic world or plane, is the central being also stationed in it or no?
It is stationed in it as the psychic being in between two births.
Okay.
See,
Perfect.
Understand one thing very clearly. जो psychic being है, it is not distinct first of all from the central being. It is the central being only. ठीक है? ऐसा नहीं है कि जो central being है और जो soul spark है और वो जो psychic being है वो तीन अलग अलग चीजें हैं. ऐसा नहीं है. Essentially, they are the same individual. Okay? It's just
Right.
three different conditions or poises of the same individual entity.
Okay.
The first is the unborn and eternal and immortal poise. Okay? The second is when that itself enters into the terrestrial evolution and it is there in a seed form or a spark form wherein all potentiality is there, but it has to bring them out. Okay? And the third
Right.
is where those possibilities have been brought out and it is able to finally, ultimately, consciously serve the divine.
Right.
Got it?
Perfect.
So when the
Right.
when the psychic being or soul is there in the psychic world, so it is the central being only, but it is the central being in the form of a psychic being dwelling in that psychic world for that internatal period between two births.
So Anmol bhai, just to recap from the earlier letter, Sri Aurobindo had used the word it sends an ambassador. So the central being, representative, right? So ambassador is your representative, right? So the ambassador is the psychic being. Now,
Yes.
वो central being जो है or the Jivatman or the central being is the same thing, right? I've got that part very clear, but it sends out a projection or a delegate, which is your spark soul, which develops over lives into
the psychic being.
Correct. So in that sense, yes, and then once it's grown fully, it merges back. That oneness is experienced with
Once
the
it has
Jivatman.
grown fully, then it realizes that
Yeah.
it is that central being.
Correct. It realizes it is that central being, but it may, because see, Jivatman is going to stay there permanent.
Yes.
It is never dying or anything. It is there always.
It is Aja. It is by
Aja.
definition unborn and undying.
Correct. So the point I'm trying to make here is that when you say that they are the different poises, it sounds little bit different.
Okay.
The reason why is the way I understand.
Sri Aurobindo actually does not use this word poise. वो तो मैं explain करने के लिए use कर रहा हूँ. वो तो यही बोलते हैं कि it is the same thing in three different forms.
That is.
He uses the word form.
तो ये बहुत चेंज हो जाता है इसका कॉनोटेशन.
आप इसको ऐसे समझे ना कि एक तो वो अनबॉर्न इटर्नल परफेक्ट थिंग है जो कभी चेंज नहीं होती. ठीक है. बट वही चीज जब ये एडवेंचर ऑफ कॉन्शियसनेस लेती है एवोल्यूशन नाम का और यहाँ आती है तो वो सोल स्पार्क कहलाती है और सारी पॉसिबिलिटीज उसके अंदर कंटेन्ड है बट उसके अंदर हिडन है, वो रिवील नहीं हुई है.
नहीं, सुन लीजिए ना मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूँ. What I am trying to say is I am not debating all that कि content नहीं है वगैरह.
What is your confusion?
नहीं, and there is no confusion. I am trying to delineate the word choice of words here because it makes a significant difference.
Correct.
Three different forms versus three different poises are bit confusing in the sense that if the entity is the same, the poise can be of, let's say for example, I'm the person, I can be a father, I can be a teacher, and I can also be a student. So these are the poises of
ये
my
आपके रूप भी तो कहे जा सकते हैं.
हाँ रूप या roles, rather रूप या roles, right?
पॉइज का
रूप
मतलब क्या होता है? पॉइज का मतलब एक स्टेटस होता है ना. पॉइज मतलब
correct.
पोजीशन.
हाँ poise
तो
मतलब
वो उसके 3 स्टेटस तो हैं ही हैं. उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
नहीं the point I'm trying to make is forms versus status is different ना. वो form में से status निकल रहा है.
चलो आप फॉर्म वर्ड, we'll stick to the word which Sri Aurobindo uses. The
हाँ
word
because
is
वो
form.
confusion, because form मतलब जो मैंने I'm having this form right now, but the form can take different roles. That is what I'm trying to understand from this. That is what I
Okay.
meant.
Okay.
मुझे ये interpretation आता है. Poises means because you have the divine as a poise which is transcendental. It's the same divine, but it is a transcendental poise versus universal poise versus the individual poise.
But अभी आप जैसे एक psychic being हो,
हाँ.
and you are here on earth in a human body, at this very moment, don't you have a central being which is presiding and which is unborn and eternal?
Definitely.
Then what will it be called? वो क्या कहा जाएगा? क्या ये हम नहीं कह सकते कि वो आप ही का एक और पॉइज है? हम कह सकते हैं, बट हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि वो आपका ही एक रूप भी है. इट्स बेसिकली अ चॉइस ऑफ वर्ड्स.
अच्छा.
कौन सा वर्ड आपको ज्यादा क्लियर लगे?
Okay.
डू आई मेक सेंस?
I'm not fully. वो छोड़ो, we can talk about it
नहीं नहीं,
later. That's
उसमें कोई
because
वो आर्ग्यूमेंट वाला बात नहीं है.
नहीं argument का सवाल नहीं है, because I had this clear distinction, but now that distinction with this discussion is getting muddied. That's the reason why I was.
नहीं, don't, we are wanting clarity. We are not wanting any muddiness. We'll
हाँ.
stick to the word form. I felt कि form is a little more subtler word. That is why I use the word poise. और मुझे नहीं लग रहा था कि उससे डिस्टॉर्शन कोई बहुत ज्यादा हो रहा है.
अच्छा.
Anmol, I'll just read this one sentence, okay?
Yes,
And
yes,
how it comes to this world, and this is from what the text that you had shared. The
yes.
soul begins to unveil itself, the
Hmm.
psychic personality reaches its full stature, the
Hmm.
soul, the psychic entity, then manifests itself as the central being which upholds mind and life and body and supports all the other powers and functions of the spirit. It takes up its greater function as the guide and ruler of the nature. Right now, when that state is being mentioned, is that something where the person is in the psychic world? Is that a
I couldn't actually follow.
evolution?
From where were you reading? From the WhatsApp group or from where?
In that WhatsApp group, you remember there was this section on the triple transformation,
Okay.
and
So
it
you are
talks
reading
about
from the triple transformation section.
from that section is from the triple transformation, that page number 20, where it says that it evolves to the psychic entity, the psychic being evolves to the psychic entity and the central being. I read that from there. Now
Okay.
all I'm asking is, when that stature is achieved, is that now an existence in the psychic world or plane?
Uh, characteristically, yes. Because you have attained a state of perfect peace and harmony and everything. But why? See, if that condition is attained, as you are saying, right? Uska evolution complete ho gaya. Right? If the evolution has been completed, then why will it need to go back to that psychic world or plane? वहां तो वो इसलिए जाता है क्योंकि उसको एसिमुलेट करना होता है. या इट कुड इवन बी, आई एम जस्ट हाइपोथेसाइजिंग, आई डोंट नो फॉर श्योर. If you have completed that evolution, you could maybe become one of the guardians of that psychic world and help souls in their assimilation and rebirth here, right? But fundamentally, you are not restricted just to that world. That is what I'm trying to say. Your
Okay.
necessity of going to the psychic world or psychic plane is there so long as you are part of the process of rebirth. Once that rebirth chain is completed, once that merger of the psychic being with the central being has happened, then the evolution is basically complete and then you need not be there. Is it clear?
Right. Anmol, the only reason I bought it, because if you see the first sentence here, it says there is a psychic world. We all say we all aspire for heaven, right? Now, the heaven in a physical form as a Jivan Mukta can be achieved. That means every second you're living in peace, in beauty and
Yeah,
harmony.
exactly.
So
But
the
you are
first
living
line
it.
is saying that
But when you're doing that, you're talking about being a human being in a human body, now.
correct, which is what the first line says, na? There is a psychic world.
Correct.
See
But
what
that
it's
psychic world is not this material world. अगर आपको उसमें exist करना है, you will be having a different kind of body. That's all I'm saying.
Acha. So you're saying in this human form, we cannot aspire to reach
We can
this state?
aspire, and we can live in that psychic consciousness. And therefore, you can be said to be living in connection with that psychic plane or in that psychic plane. But आप हो ऐसे terrestrial plane में ना, my point is only this.
Got it.
As long as you
Now
are
it's
having a
absolutely
material
clear.
body, you will be said to be living on the material plane. That's all I'm saying.
Correct. Got it. See, Anmol, the only
Got
reason
it
it
now.
came because we always say heaven, you aspire for heaven. So the
Exactly.
first line kind of
मैंने
indicated
इसीलिए
that there
clarify
is
भी
a
किया
heaven.
था कि heaven
Right.
word जो है, usually
Right.
heaven is simply स्वर्ग. स्वर्ग क्या है?
Correct.
जहाँ देवता रहते हैं, right? But the word he has used here, and in English it is used like this, is heaven can be any higher world, any world higher than the material world. So even a vital world can be a heaven. जो गंधर्व होते हैं वो वाइटल वर्ल्ड के होते हैं, बट अगर एक गंधर्व
Right.
आपके सामने आ जाए, आपको लगेगा ये भी देवता है और आपके लगेगा ये स्वर्ग से आया. You translate that swarga into English and you will say he's come from heaven. So the word heaven basically means any higher world. That is how he's saying. So the psychic world in its quality is higher than the material world. That is why he's using the word heaven for it here. That is all.
Correct. Got it. Absolutely. Thanks.
Clear? Okay. It is also a place of rest for the soul between two incarnations in which it absorbs its past experiences and becomes ready for another birth. Okay. Anybody else has any question in this? Archana ji has joined since then. Kalpana ji has joined. Haresh ji has joined. Anybody else has any question? Or I read the next one. Atmadeep ji, if you have any question.
No, sir.
No. Okay. Next. What you describe, lying calmly in a realm of peace, joy, and oneness, is what we mean by the psychic being in its own plane of existence. वही own plane of existence. For the psychic plane is like that. Now, for example, ये जिसको experience हुआ होगा either in a trance or in the sleep condition. So when you are sleeping, okay, in some kind of a subtle body, you can go to that psychic world or plane and have the experience of that plane. When we are in sleep, every day it happens. I will share that. It's a very important quotation from Sri Aurobindo. केवल 20 minutes जो होते हैं, that is the actual period in which the soul goes and sort of takes a dip into Satchidananda and comes back recharged. 20 minutes, 10 minutes होते हैं. The rest of the period, 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever, is just for the going into it and coming out of it. Right? So when you are touching that Satchidananda, obviously it will be, as I understand, we take a dip within ourselves.
वो
We
तो
go into
vertical
that psychic plane.
vertical
Is
plane
it
हुआ ना
about
Vertical भी हो सकता है. Vertical भी हो सकता
ये तो horizontal I mean
है. That's what I'm saying. It could be either of the two.
अच्छा.
But higher will be, see, if you talk about vertical इतना naturally नहीं होगा. The horizontal thing will happen more naturally. Vertical उसके लिए natural होगा जो already जागृत अवस्था में vertical states को reach कर रहा है. Make sense?
Okay.
so
So
it is only the condition before a new birth, like when soul takes a new body.
yes.
So there is a
So when the soul
I
takes a
mean,
new body, before that, the soul is there in the soul world. And it is in a kind of trance or a kind of sleep of rest, wherein it is assimilating the experiences of the previous birth.
okay,
Is it clear?
G.
Okay. What you describe, lying calmly in a realm of peace, joy, and oneness, is what we mean by the psychic being in its own plane of existence. For the psychic plane is like that. I may share here, a friend of mine, 7-8 years ago, she had shared कि when she was like 8 or 9 years old, उसको वो एक experience हुआ and it was all very pink and all, बिल्कुल वो color वो psychic world का ही color था, and it was a very beautiful experience and the memory was so strong that the person told me this at the age of almost 40, but the memory was very vivid. So my guess was that it was an experience of the psychic world. बच्चों को बहुत आसानी से हो सकता है. Children are very pure, right? So yeah, next. The psychic stands behind the rest of the being, supporting it with its own purity. One of the key words for the psychic, purity. The शुद्ध अहैतुकी भक्ति. उसमें वो desire का impurity ना होना. With its own purity, truth, and joy. Actually, matlab, what we can do for our matlab, practical purpose is all these words now which we get for the psychic being. Just say main base jo humcha Satyam Shivam Sundaram. The true, the good, the beautiful. Again, true at the mental level. Good at the vital level. Shivam, beautiful at the physical level, like that. Some other words, purity, joy जैसे यहाँ पे आया, आनंद, ऊपर peace था, harmony. These all we can keep in our mind that these are the characteristics of the psychic being, like that. Okay, so now it's 8:41. We had started at around 8:05. Now, what should we
Yeah.
do?
Anmol, just one point here.
Yes,
See,
please.
here he's sharing with some devotee who's
Yes,
experienced this psychic plane. So, what
exactly.
he's saying is what you describe, lying calmly in a realm of peace, joy, and oneness, is what we mean by the psychic being in its own plane of existence. For the psychic plane is like that, right? That means there is a possibility
Yes.
that people can experience it in the
Yes.
physical form, and that is
Yes.
what he's
Yes.
saying. कि भाई
Yes.
आपने
You can go into a
experienced
deep
it.
meditation while you are fully awake, and you can have an experience of this plane.
Correct. And then what is so beautiful, if you see the next line, because he says that at some stage, when you
Yes.
keep on reaching out to your psychic being, when the psychic being becomes the psychic entity, it becomes, it realizes it's the soul spark,
Yeah.
then it controls the mind, vital, and physical, right? So here it's saying the psychic stands behind the rest of the being, supporting it with its own purity, truth. So when it's supporting it, and it becomes that reality, then it is actually in this physical realm also. So it is the psychic realm or the psychic plane is
It starts
coexisting.
manifesting in the material plane.
Yes, yes. So what I was trying to say at that stage in the previous is that there is this possibility, and the second paragraph is showing an
Definitely.
experience of a person
Not only
who's in the
possibility, that
physical
is the
plane
purpose
and the
of the
psychic
terrestrial
plane.
manifestation. Sorry,
Right.
sir. I couldn't catch you. Can you please repeat?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Yeah. I was saying, so the next paragraph says that there is an experience of both the physical plane and the psychic plane simultaneously. And therefore, what I was saying, that the previous thing that we were talking about, that yes, there is a psychic plane, but it is this means, to me, it just appears that the whole journey is to wake up, to realize the psychic plane, so that it is something that you can experience while being in the physical body, while being in the physical plane as well.
Exactly. And acha, it's not the ultimate. It's not the ultimate. वो एक उसका base और foundation है. Psychic plane, as I said, is in the horizontal domain. But Sri Aurobindo says psychic transformation, then spiritual transformation, then supramental transformation. तो वो psychic plane की या psychic being की full प्राप्ति होना and the full psychicization of the nature, this is just the first milestone. After that is the reaching till the overmental consciousness, which is Sri Krishna's consciousness, Shiva's consciousness, as Sri Aurobindo says, and then going even beyond that into the supramental consciousness and bringing that down and making that part of the human and the terrestrial nature, right? But the psychic is the first necessary milestone now.
Correct. And what I liked was here he's explaining to somebody, because whatever we read in the last few weeks, it was saying that the psychic should take control.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's the mental which is controlling, and the mental is in the physical plane.
Yes.
Here we finally come and we've been exposed to a psychic plane, and it's saying that, look, you can coexist in the psychic
and it's
plane
a distinct plane.
Correct.
Or again, matlab, another way we can use this sentence practically, the psychic stands behind the rest of the being, supporting it with its own purity, truth, and joy. So whatever may be the amount of, apparent impurity or falsehood or sorrow, etc. in us, there is inside us, in each one of us, something called the psychic being, which is perfectly pure, perfectly truthful, and perfectly joyful, no matter what. Just as the clouds cannot permanently cover the sun, similarly, any kind of impurity, any kind of falsehood, any kind of sorrow, depression, whatever, it cannot cover up forever. It can only do it temporarily. It can never cover up forever that perfect purity, perfect truth, and perfect joy which is there inside all of us. Right?
This is so beautiful, Anmol. It gives us so much of hope. and it gives us so much of, that there is
And
something which is
actually,
always
अगर हम
there. This is so
psychologically देखें
beautiful.
ना, if we be a little more honest and practical with ourselves, all the time we are bothered, मतलब not all the time, but many times during the day we are bothered by our own lack of purity, by our own lack of truthfulness, by our own lack of joy. तो at those such times to remember this kind of sentence कि चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, मेरे अंदर वो perfect purity, perfect truth, perfect joy है, और वो कहीं नहीं जा सकता. The English word which Sri Aurobindo uses for that, one of his favorite words, is inalienable. Inalienable मतलब जिसको कोई कभी छीन नहीं सकता. It can never be taken away from you. Right? Somebody was saying something. Atmadeep, I think you were saying something.
Yes, so the practices like yoga, nidra, and everything is just to go
Deeper.
from that noise of the physical or mental to psychic.
Yes,
Is it like
exactly.
that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Like उसमें भी आप जैसे since you mentioned the word yoga nidra, so as I mentioned, okay, when you sleep, okay, so it's only in those 10 minutes that you go and have a dip in Satchidananda, right? The rest of the time is just for going in and coming out. But if that dip is not done, या फिर वो properly नहीं हुआ है, then even if you sleep for 9 hours, 10 hours, you do not wake up refreshed, right? What Yoga Nidra will do is, it will make sure that that dip will happen and the time needed for taking that dip will reduce. आपका अपनी स्लीप के ऊपर कॉन्शियस कंट्रोल बन जाएगा, एंड इन द फाइनल एक्सट्रीम थिंग जो एकदम परफेक्ट योगी होगा, ही विल जस्ट नीड दैट 10 minutes of dip into the Satchidananda and come back, and that is all that they need. Mother, for example, I mean, if you go to her first floor room here, there is not even a proper bed there. It's just a sort of couch on which she used to recline for 2 to 3 hours at night, because that was sufficient for her for all the recharging that was necessary.
जी.
That, yeah. तो बट हाँ, टू कम बैक, योगा निद्रा या इस तरह की कोई भी चीज जो हमको एक मेडिटेटिव स्टेट में ले जाती है, बॉडी की अवेयरनेस वगैरह, जो कुछ भी इस तरह की चीजें हैं, दे विल बेसिकली मेंट टू डीपन योर कॉन्शियसनेस एंड टेक यू क्लोजर टू दैट साइकिक एंटिटी, साइकिक बीइंग विद इन यू. All right.
Anmol bhai,
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Most
in
welcome.
WhatsApp group,
Yes.
I have posted 2 pictures and 2 lines of Savitri. If you can just look at those, that is, mother has pictured that, and the lines of Savitri read, a packaged assemblage of crude
Packed assemblage.
Sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses.
No
A packed assemblage of crude tentative lives are pieced into a tessellated whole. So that means ये जो नीचे जो ये, if you can share the diagram right now on the screen, then everybody can probably see each of that.
How to do it? I should put it on the chat.
I don't know how to share. It's on
Even I
WhatsApp.
don't.
It's on WhatsApp. If everybody,
I can show it here on the screen like this. If people can.
इसके ऊपर आप share कर सकते हो क्या WhatsApp का वो?
Is this visible? This is the picture.
Yeah.
Is it visible to everybody?
At least to me, yes, I can see this on this.
Hey, what about the others? Is it visible clearly enough? No? Yes?
Yes. Touch it back. because,
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
yeah,
आप
it's kind of a broom.
yeah, it looks like a broom, but each of that strand is a life. Like, that is how I interpreted it. That's what I wanted to learn from here, from Anmol bhai, if he has any idea of it, whether each of that strand at the bottom is hung together
वो
by
मुझे
the.
नहीं पता. I don't know the exact reason why this was made like this.
This now, Anmol bhai, appears to me like that the upper end of that is your, what you call
Acha,
it.
this is like the beings are there.
Correct.
In this,
Exactly.
at the end, if you see, those are the heads and those are the arms, and they are going upwards like this. So these are, I think, are each of the lives of the individual. That is what it looks like to me.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
हाँ.
Each lives of that individual, not individuals.
These are नहीं.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be that also. 1 minute. A packed assemblage of crude tentative lives. हाँ, but वो lives तो आपके lives होंगे ना, not all the different lives of all the
अच्छा.
jivas.
Okay, got it.
This I think, हाँ, like that. ये यहाँ पे बेसिकली वही कि it looks like that it is a crude and there is no connection and it is tentative and all, but there is nothing crude about it. There is a great divine wisdom working behind, and there is nothing tentative about it. It is as sure as anything. Again, we can go back to the Gita. क्या है वो 4.9 है या क्या है नंबर 4.11 ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते तांस तथैव भजाम्यहम मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः सेकंड पार्ट उसका इट इज माई पाथ दैट मेन फॉलो इन ऑल वेज ओ सन ऑफ पृथा ठीक है अगेन 10.20 अहम आत्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशय स्थितः अहम
हम
आदिश्च
आदिश्च
मध्यम च
मध्यम च
भूतानाम
भूतानाम
अंत
अंत
एव च
एव च करेक्ट
I
करेक्ट
am
आई
the
एम द
beginning, the
बिगिनिंग
middle,
एंड
as well as
द
the
एंड
end of all beings.
राइट
तो ना उसमें कुछ tentative है ना उसमें कुछ crude है. It looks like that because we have not gone back into that divine consciousness within us.
Okay, in that sense it means got it.
That's what I can understand right now.
Okay. Also, Anmol bhai, one small question I have is
Please.
the Nolinida was a great sadhak, right? So when he used to go out of his body and enter this world of souls and then shuffle the souls from one, uh, so which world was he entering? Was it
Psychic world.
psychic world? Ah, okay. Not the Jivatman world.
Now, I maybe what you are referring to as is an incident in his life, but to use the language that he was doing it frequently or daily or regularly, that I do not know.
Acha. Because this,
I can actually tell the exact context here. It will be
please.
very inspiring for those who are hearing it for the first time. So basically, Nalini Kanta Gupta, whom Dhavalbhai called as Nalini Da, he was one of the, you could probably say he was the foremost disciple of Sri Aurobindo in terms of attainment of consciousness. He had attained the overmind level. Very clearly, Mother has said it. Okay. So when there was a gentleman who left his body, Nalnida had come to the ashram, and Nalnida's wife, she was being helped by this person. Let's call him A. Okay. तो जब इस ए का डेथ हुआ बंगाल में तो somebody kind of teased him, taunted him कि you know नलिनी बाबू आप तो अपना रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी पूरे नहीं किए. दिस मैन वाज काइंड ऑफ यू नो फिलिंग इन फॉर यू एंड हेल्पिंग योर वाइफ आउट. तो उनको थोड़ा चिढ़ा रहा था या टॉन्ट कर रहा था कि आपके ऊपर ऋण है, कितना बड़ा ऋण है करके. तो ही वुड टेक एन आफ्टरनून नैप सिएस्टा. तो वो लिए एंड आफ्टर ही केम आउट ही सिंपली सेड ड्यूरिंग माय नैप आई वेंट टू द वर्ल्ड ऑफ द डेड, looked in chamber after chamber for the soul of that man, pulled it out from there and placed it at the feet of Sri Aurobindo. This I have read in a book on, it's called Tributes to Nolikanta Gupta. When he, I think either he passed away or on his centenary, on one of the two occasions this book was published, most likely on his centenary. So, ये वो एक incident था. But whether this happened at other times also, that I don't know. So the word, I mean, guess would be कि he was obviously वो soul कहाँ जा रही थी?
Psychic world में rest के
Surely
लिए
I
गए
cannot say. I mean, these are all require occult knowledge of a very deep level, so I don't have.
Correct. No, also this kind of similar, different story appears in Autobiography of a Yogi, where he says, "I'll find that soul."
Same actually story appears in Krishna's life. That is why his guru's son is called Punardatta, because when the Guru Mata asks him for the Guru Dakshina, वो कहती है मेरे मरे हुए बेटे को जिंदा कर दो. She does not know that he has died. She simply says that my son went for bath in the वो basically Arabian Sea वाले area में, I think Run of Kutch वाला area में, and there he drowned. उसका एक वो हिंदी word होता है मुझे भी याद नहीं आ रहा. And he has not returned. Can you bring back my son? So Krishna goes there, asks the ocean god what happened. He is told that he drowned and he is now in Yamaloka. So Krishna goes to Yamaloka, brings back the soul, even gives him the same body and hands it over to the Guru Mata. That is why he is called Punar Datta. दत्ता माने दिया हुआ, पुनर माने अगेन. बट अगेन आई मीन वही बॉडी कैसे दे सकते हैं, दैट इज समथिंग अनफैथमेबल टू मी. तो
नहीं, because you also have read Autobiography of a Yogi, and इसमें था कि he finds that soul and he says I'll reach out to you, and he reaches out, you know. That was I don't remember which page and all.
So anyway, we have given
Should
examples.
we read the Savitri lines?
That's what I'm
Anmol,
saying.
you said if you could please do that.
Yeah. So there are like 11 minutes left. We have read this section today. So one good use we can make it is just to read. कुछ नहीं करना है. Anybody who would like to read, or 2 people, 3 people, just read this canto of Savitri called The World Soul, which is there on the screen. Is that okay for everybody? This canto is basically the psychic plane or world in poetic form, in the most beautiful possible poetic form. Okay? Who would like to read? Who would like to read? What we can do is we can read like page by page. Yogesh bhai, can you start? No response.
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
One second.
Just start by reading the heading.
The world soul. A covert answer to his seeking came. In a far shimmering background of mind space, a glowing mouth was seen, a luminous shaft. A recluse gate it seemed, musing on joy, a veiled retreat and escape to mystery. Away from the unsatisfied surface world, it fled into the bosom of the unknown, a well, a tunnel of the depths of God. It plunged as if a mystic groove of hope through many layers of formless, voiceless self to reach the last profound of the world's heart. And from that heart there surged a wordless call, pleading with some still impenetrable mind, voicing some passionate unseen desire, as if a beckoning finger of secrecy, outstretched into a crystal mood of air, pointing at him from some near hidden depth, as if a message from the world's deep soul, an intimation of a lurking joy that flowed out from a cup of brooding bliss. There shimmered, stealing out into the mind, a mute and quivering ecstasy of light, a passion and delicacy of roseate fire, as one drawn to his lost spiritual home feels now the closeness of a waiting love. Into a passage dim and tremulous that clasped him in from day and night's pursuit, he traveled, led by a mysterious sound, a murmur multitudinous and lone. All sounds it was in turn, yet still the same. A hidden call to unforeseen delight in the summoning voice of one long known, well loved, but nameless to the unremembering mind. It led to rapture back the truant heart. The immortal cry ravished the captive ear. Then, lowering its imperious mystery, it sank to a whisper circling round the soul. It seemed the yearning of a lonely flute that roamed along the shores of memory and filled the eyes with tears of longing joy. A cricket, a cricket's rash and fiery single note, it marked with shrill melody night's moonless hush, and beat upon a nerve of mystic sleep its high, insistent, magical reveal, a jingling silver laugh of anklet bells, traveled the roads of a solitary heart. Its dance solaced an internal loneliness, an old, forgotten sweetness sobbing came. Or far, or from a far harmonious distance heard the tinkling pace of a long caravan. It seemed at times, or a vast forest's hymn, the solemn reminder of a temple gong, a bee croon honey drunk in summer isles, ardent with ecstasy in a slumberous noon, or the far anthem of a pilgrim sea, and incense floated in the quivering air. A mystic happiness trembled in the breast, as if the invisible beloved had come. Assuming the sudden loveliness of a face, and close, glad hands could seize his fugitive feet, and the world change with the beauty of a smile. Into a wonderful bodiless realm he came, the home of a passion without name or voice, a depth he felt answering to every height. A nook was found that could embrace all worlds, a point that was the conscious knot of space, an hour eternal in the heart of time. The silent soul of all the world was there. A being lived, a presence and a power, a single person who was himself and all, and cherished nature's sweet and dangerous throbs, transfigured into beats divine and pure. One who could love without return for love, meeting and turning to the best the worst. It healed the bitter cruelties of earth, transforming all experience to delight, intervening in the sorrowful paths of birth. It rocked the cradle of the cosmic child and stilled all weeping with its hand of joy. It led things evil towards their secret good. It turned racked falsehood into happy truth. Its power was to reveal divinity. Infinite, coeval with the mind of God, it bore within itself a seed, a flame, a seed from which the eternal is newborn, a flame that cancels death in mortal things. All grew to all kindred and self and near. The intimacy of God was everywhere. No veil was felt, no brute barrier inert. Distance could not divide, time could not change. A fire of passion burned in spirit depths. A constant touch of sweetness linked all hearts. The throb of one's adoration's single bliss in a rapt ether of undying love. An inner happiness abode in all, a sense of universal harmonies, a measureless, secure eternity of truth and beauty and good and joy made one. Here was the welling core of finite life. A formless spirit became the soul of form.
Just pause. Atmadeep ji, would you like to read till the end from here?
Yes, sir, why not? All
Please.
there was soul or made of sheer soul stuff, a sky of soul covered a deep soul ground. All here was known by a spiritual sense. Thought was not there, but a knowledge near and one, seized on all things by a moved identity, a sympathy of self with other selves, the touch of consciousness on consciousness, and beings look on being with inmost gaze, and heart laid bare to heart without walls of speech, and the unanimity of seeing minds.
Unanimity.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Unanimity of seeing minds in myriad of forms,
Myriad
luminous
forms.
with the luminous with the one God. Life was not there, but an impassioned force, finer than fineness, deeper than the deeps, felt as a subtle and spiritual power, a quavering out from soul to answering soul, a mystic movement, a close influence, a free and happy and intense approach of being to being with no screen or check, without which life and love could never have been. Body was not there, for bodies were needed not. The soul itself was its own deathless form, and met at once the touch of other souls, close, blissful, concrete, wonderfully true. As when one walks in sleep to luminous dreams, and conscious knows the truth their figures mean. Here, where reality was its own dream, he knew things by their soul and not their shape, as those who have lived long, made one in love, need word nor sign for heart's reply to heart. He met and communed without bar of speech with beings unveiled by a material frame. There was a strange spiritual scenery, a loveliness of lakes and streams and hills, a flow of fixity in a soul space, and plains and valleys, stretches of soul joy, and gardens that were flower tracts of the spirit, its meditations of tinged reverie. I don't know. Air was the breath of a pure infinite. A fragrance wandered in a colored haze, as if the scent and hue of all sweet flowers had mingled to copy heaven's atmosphere, appealing to the soul and not the eye. Beauty lived there at home in her own house. There all was beautiful by its own right, and needed not the splendor of a robe. All objects were like bodies of the gods, a spirit symbol environing a soul, for world and self were one reality.
Just
Beautiful.
pause. Just pause. Dhaval bhai, would you like to read?
I don't have the laptop. I will have to read from the
No
book.
problem. Then let her continue.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Deepika ji, you can continue.
Immersed in voiceless international trance, the beings that once wore forms on earth sat there in shining chambers of spiritual sleep. Past were the pillar posts of birth and death. Past was their little scene of symbol deeds. Past were the heavens and hells of their long road. They had returned into the world, gathered into pregnant rest. Person and nature suffered a slumber change. In trance, they gathered back their bygone selves. In a background, memory is foreseeing news, prophetic of new personality, arranged the map of their coming destiny's course. Years of their past, years of their past, their futures discoverers, lectors of their own self-chosen lot, they waited for the adventure of new life. A person persists then through the lapse of worlds, although the same forever in many shapes, by the outward mind unrecognizable, assuming names unknown in unknown climes,
Climes.
implying, okay, fine, imprints through time upon the earth's worn page, a growing figure of its secret self, and learns by experience what the spirit knew, till it can see its truth alive and God. There's a message
Yeah,
he wants
I
to
saw.
read.
Dhaval bhai, would you like to read from here? Once more they must face.
Yes.
Please
Sure.
read. Please read.
Once more, we must face the problem game of birth, the soul's experiment of joy and grief, and thought and impulse, lighting the blind act, and venture on the roads of circumstance through inner movements and external scenes, traveling to self across the forms of things. Into creation's center he had come, the spirit wandering from state to state finds here in silence of its starting point, in the formless force and the still fixity and brooding passion of the world soul, all that is made and once again unmade, the calm persistent vision of the one inevitably remakes, it lives anew, forces and lives and beings and ideas are taken into the stillness for a while. There they remold their purpose and their drift, recast their nature and reform their shape. Ever they change and changing ever grow, and passing through a fruitful stage of death, and after a long reconstituting sleep, resume their place in the process of the gods until their work is done in the cosmic time is done. Here was the fashioning chamber of the worlds. An interval was left twixt act and act, twixt birth and birth, twixt dream and waking dream. Pause that gave new strength to do and be. Beyond were regions of delight and peace, mute birthplaces of light and hope and love, and cradles of heavenly rapture and repose. In a slumber of the voices of the world, he of the eternal moment grew aware, his knowledge stripped bare of the garb of sense, knew by identity without thought or word. His being saw itself without its veils. Life's line fell from the spirit's infinity. Along a road of pure interior light, alone between tremendous presences, under the watching eyes of nameless gods, his soul passed on, a single conscious power, towards the end which ever begins again, approaching through the stillness, dumb and calm, to the source of all things human and divine. There he beheld in their mighty union's poise the figure of the deathless, two in one, a single being in two bodies clasped, a diarchy of two united souls, seated, absorbed in deep creative joy. Their trance of bliss sustained the mobile world. Behind them, in a more morning dusk, one stood, who brought them forth from the unknowable. Ever disguised, she awaits the seeking spirit, watcher on the supreme unreachable peaks, guide of the traveler of the unseen paths. She guards the austere approach to the alone. At the beginning of each far spread plain, pervading with her power the cosmic suns, she reigns, inspirer of its multiple works, and thinker of the symbol of its scene. Above them, all she stands, supporting all, the sole omnipotent goddess ever veiled, of whom the world is the inscrutable mask, the ages are the footfalls of her tread, their happenings the figure of her thoughts, and all creation is her endless act. His spirit was made a vessel of her force. Mute in the fathomless passion of his will, he outstretched to her his folded hands of prayer. Then, in a sovereign answer to his heart, a gesture came as of worlds thrown away, and from her raiments lustrous mystery raised. One arm half parted the eternal veil. A light appeared, still and imperishable. Attracted to the large and luminous depths of the ravishing enigma of her eyes, he saw the mystic outline of her face. Overwhelmed by her implacable light and bliss, an atom of her illimitable self, mastered by the honey and lightning of her power, tossed towards the shores of her ocean ecstasy, drunk with the deep golden spiritual wine, he cast from the rent stillness of his soul a cry of adoration and desire, and the surrender of his boundless mind, and the self giving of his silent heart. He fell down at her feet, unconscious, prone.
Should I close the session?
Sure, sir.
Anmol
Thank
bhai,
you.
yeah, please do
Yeah.
share the link of the portion that we read of
Today?
the Savitri section. Just share it after a call.
The one which we read right now?
Right now, yeah, what we
I,
read. So
I,
we could.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Anmol bhai.
We will discuss exactly what to do on Monday. We will discuss it on the group.
Okay.